I'm Sarah Johnson. I live with my husband Michael and our 2 sons in a leafy suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota. At 38, I work as a teacher at a local elementary school, while Michael, 40, is a programmer at an IT company. Our home is a 2-story house with a spacious backyard. On weekends, we cherish family time, having barbecues in the backyard or enjoying picnics in the nearby park. Living this way, I realize we're leading a typical middle-class American life. Our eldest son, Ethan, is a bright and lively 6-year-old. He's popular at school, and friends often come over to play. But Ethan has a special ability that other children don't. Sometimes, he can read people's minds or foresee future events. At first, we thought Ethan's predictions were just coincidences or products of a child's imagination. But an incident when he was 4 years old dramatically changed our thinking. One day, Ethan suddenly burst into tears, saying, "Grandpa's going to heaven." At the time, we thought it was just childish nonsense. However, 3 days later, my father passed away from a sudden heart attack. Since then, we've paid close attention to Ethan's words. Our younger son, Noah, is 4 years old and quite different from Ethan. He's quiet and calm, loving to read books or play with Legos, often engrossed in solitary play. The brothers get along well, and I'm grateful that Ethan often looks after Noah. Our family lives with mutual care and support. Sometimes we struggle to balance work and family, but Michael and I have overcome challenges together. Watching our children grow is our greatest happiness. No one could have predicted that our peaceful days would change completely after that fateful day. One Saturday afternoon, Michael and I were doing yard work in the backyard. Ethan and Noah were playing inside the house as usual. Suddenly, Ethan came running out to the yard, crying, "Mom! Dad! Noah's gone." At first, we thought he might be hiding somewhere in the house. But after searching everywhere, we couldn't find Noah. Anxiety began to spread in my chest. Michael and I split up to search the neighborhood, but Noah was nowhere to be found. Panicking, I called 911. The police arrived and took details about Noah's disappearance. A search began immediately, with neighbors helping out. Hours passed, but Noah wasn't found. The police started a wider search and asked local media for cooperation. Our entire community mobilized to search for Noah. As night fell, I held a sobbing Ethan, praying for Noah's safety. Michael tried desperately to stay calm, but fear and anxiety were visible in his eyes. "Noah, please be safe," I repeated in my heart. Even the next day, Noah wasn't found. The search continued, with the FBI joining the investigation. We held a press conference, appealing to the public for information about Noah. "Has anyone seen our son Noah? He's 4 years old, with brown hair and blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a blue t-shirt and jeans. Please, any information, no matter how small, could help us find our son." My voice was shaking, but I managed to get the words out. Michael held my shoulder, supporting me. The community's support was heartening. Neighbors brought food and looked after Ethan. The church community held gatherings to pray for Noah's safety. However, as days passed, we felt hope fading. The police reports were always the same, no new leads. Ethan started crying at night, saying he could sense Noah was scared. We tried to comfort him, but Ethan's words filled me with fear too. A week passed, then a month, and then a year. The search was scaled back, and media interest waned. But we never gave up. We kept putting up Noah's pictures around town and spreading information on social media. Every night, I went to Noah's room, hugging his stuffed animals and praying. "Noah, Mommy will keep looking for you. We'll find you, I promise. Our family changed a lot over this year. We smiled less and talked less. Ethan became less active, and his teacher told us he had become quieter at school. Michael and I's relationship was also strained by stress. We didn't blame each other, but grief and anxiety seemed to build a wall between us. Still, we couldn't give up hope. We believed Noah was safe and kept waiting for the day he would return. About a year after Noah's disappearance, Michael's sister Jessica came to visit us for the first time in a while. She hadn't shown her face much, probably sensing our grief. The doorbell rang, and when I opened the door, Jessica was standing there. "Sarah, it's been a while. How are you?" She smiled gently at me. "Jessica, thank you for coming. Please, come in," I invited her inside. In the living room, Ethan was watching TV. He looked a bit confused when he saw his aunt but quickly said, "Hello, Aunt Jessica." As Jessica approached Ethan to hug him, his expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "This woman is hiding my brother." Those words froze me, Jessica, and Michael, who had just entered the room. Ethan was trembling, standing behind me as if hiding. "Ethan, what are you saying?" I asked, trying to stay calm despite my shock. "Noah is at Aunt's house." "I can tell," Ethan answered with a serious expression. Jessica's face turned red. "What are you saying?" "That's impossible," she raised her voice. The atmosphere in the room instantly became tense. Michael looked confused, glancing back and forth between his sister Jessica and son Ethan. I felt my mind go blank. Remembering Ethan's strange ability, I struggled with whether to believe his words or think rationally. Michael sighed deeply and said, "Jessica, I'm sorry, but could you go home today? We need to talk as a family." Jessica was clearly upset but nodded and left. After she was gone, we were left in a heavy silence. "Michael, what should we do?" I asked my husband, seeking help. Michael ruffled his hair as he answered, "Honestly, I don't know. Should we believe Ethan's words, or?" We felt the complexity of American family relationships acutely. The difficulty of doubting blood relatives, the heart wavering between a child's intuition and adult rationality. There were no easy answers to these issues. Ethan looked at us with tears in his eyes. "Mom, Dad, please believe me. I'm not lying." I hugged Ethan and said, "We understand, honey. Mom and Dad will think about this seriously." That night, after the children were asleep, Michael and I talked for a long time. We couldn't completely ignore Ethan's words. However, we also wanted to avoid unjustly suspecting family. "Sarah, if Ethan's words are true." Michael's voice was shaking. "But to suspect Jessica without evidence." I couldn't hide my hesitation either. We also considered American laws and social norms. The danger of suspecting an innocent person, but at the same time, the idea that children's safety should be the top priority. In the end, we didn't reach a conclusion that night. But we knew we needed to take some action. The next morning, we made a decision. Directly confronting Jessica was too risky. We decided to start by investigating discreetly. Michael took a day off work to look around Jessica's house. I decided to casually ask around the neighborhood. Before leaving the house, we told Ethan, "We believe your words. But we need to act carefully. Do you understand?" Ethan nodded, looking relieved. "Yes, I understand. I hope we can help Noah." Our investigation began. Between family bonds and truth, we set out to find answers. After several days of investigation, we made a decision. We would visit Jessica's house directly and search her garage. In American suburbs, it's common for houses to have large garages. Jessica's house was no exception. On a Saturday afternoon, Michael and I headed to Jessica's house. Feeling my stomach knot with tension, I rang the doorbell. After a while, Jessica appeared with a confused expression. "Sarah, Michael. What's wrong?" Her voice held a note of caution. Michael took a deep breath and said, "Jessica, can we see your garage?" The color drained from Jessica's face. "Huh? Why?" "We're concerned about what Ethan said," I added in a small voice. Jessica was clearly flustered, but perhaps aware of the neighbor's eyes, she reluctantly invited us in. In American suburbs, neighborly relations are important. People generally try to avoid trouble. Entering the living room, Jessica tried desperately to appear calm. "The garage is just a pile of junk. It's not worth seeing." However, Michael didn't back down. "Still, I'd like to check." Jessica hesitated for a moment but eventually agreed. "All right. But there's really nothing there." Led by Jessica, we went through the kitchen towards the garage. As the door opened, my heart was pounding fiercely. The moment we stepped into the garage, musty air hit our noses. Cars, gardening tools, and old furniture were scattered about. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary garage. But Michael's sharp eyes caught something. "That door." He pointed to a small door in the back wall. Jessica hurriedly began to make excuses. "That's just a storage room. There's nothing." Michael cut off her words and started walking towards the door. Jessica desperately tried to stop him, but Michael's determination was firm. "Open it, Jessica." Michael's voice was shaking, but there was a strong will behind it. Jessica, looking like she was about to cry, hesitated for a while but eventually took a key out of her pocket. The sound of the key turning seemed unusually loud. As the door opened, a dark space spread before us. Just as Michael was about to enter, we heard a faint sound. "Is someone there?" I called out in a trembling voice. Then, a small shadow moved from the back. Michael took out a flashlight, and when he shone it, there was Noah, looking thin and frail. "Noah!" I cried out, rushing towards him without thinking. Noah was frightened at first, but when he recognized our faces, he burst into tears. "Mama! Papa!" We hugged Noah tightly. After a year apart, we were speechless. The tears wouldn't stop. Meanwhile, Jessica had collapsed onto the floor. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." She kept repeating, sobbing. The air in the room was tense. The desire to protect Noah, anger towards Jessica, and fear of the gravity of the situation were all mixed together. Michael sighed deeply and took out his cell phone. "We have to call the police." At those words, Jessica cried even harder. But we had no choice. Holding Noah, I was overwhelmed by complex emotions. Relief that my son was safe, anger and sadness towards Jessica, and anxiety about the difficulties ahead. "It's okay, Noah. You're safe now." I gently stroked Noah's head. Noah nodded slightly and clung to me. His body was thin and trembling, but he was alive. While Michael called the police, we moved from the garage to the living room. Jessica followed, looking completely broken. The time until the police arrived felt like an eternity. We continued to hold our son, sensing the long road ahead of us. After the police arrived and we explained the situation, we learned about Jessica's motives. As she responded to police questioning, she began to speak tearfully. I wanted a child. But I'm infertile." We gasped at Jessica's confession. In American society, many couples struggle with infertility. Despite advances in medical technology, the emotional and financial burden is significant, and many people suffer. Jessica continued, even after treatment, it didn't work. But everyone around me had children. We could feel the weight of social pressure in her words. When I saw Noah, impulsively, she covered her face and began to cry violently. Listening to this confession, I keenly felt the challenges of mental health in American society. With appropriate counseling and support, perhaps this tragedy could have been prevented. Michael sighed deeply. Jessica, why didn't you talk to us? She answered in a small voice, I was ashamed. I couldn't tell anyone. This incident highlighted the importance of family communication and the need for social understanding of mental health issues. After Noah's rescue, we headed to the hospital. While he was being examined by doctors, people from the community gathered in the hospital lobby. Voices of joy over Noah's safety could be heard everywhere. Thank goodness, it's a miracle, even strangers were shedding tears. I strongly felt the unity of the American community. It's in difficult times that people support each other. The doctor informed us that Noah's physical condition was relatively good, but psychological care would be necessary. Professional support is crucial, the doctor emphasized. When we returned home, neighbors brought food and necessary supplies. Church groups also visited, offering spiritual support. Ethan was overjoyed to be reunited with his brother, jumping up and down. Noah, I'll never let you go again, he said, hugging him tightly. It warmed my heart. Through this experience, I deeply felt the importance of professional care and community support. I realized that while a single family might not be able to overcome such difficulties alone, with help from others, we can overcome anything. Several weeks after the incident, our family was gradually trying to return to normalcy. However, the impact of the trauma was significant, especially with Noah's continued night terrors. During this time, Jessica's trial was also progressing. The court, considering her mental state, ordered treatment in a mental health facility rather than prison. While we had mixed feelings, we tried to understand that this was the best path for Jessica. In America, family therapy and counseling are common in such situations. We too began our journey of recovery, guided by professional advice. Once a week, the whole family visits a therapist. There, we put our feelings into words and understand each other's pain. When Ethan confided, I want to cry when Noah cries, I felt the depth of our family bond. We also had individual counseling sessions. Noah gradually regained his smile through play therapy. Michael and I also received couples counseling. By frankly discussing our emotional ups and downs and feelings for each other after the incident, our relationship deepened. Sarah, I'm so glad you're here, Michael said, and I couldn't stop my tears. The American health insurance system was also a great support, allowing us to continue these treatments consistently. There were tough days, but as we all moved forward together as a family, smiles gradually increased. Now, 5 years after the incident, our family has grown significantly. Noah is happily attending elementary school and even excelling on the soccer team. Although he occasionally fears memories of the past, he overcomes them with family support. Ethan has grown into a good big brother who protects his younger sibling, and he's become a trusted figure at school. His special ability is now an important element that deepens our family bond. Michael and I's relationship has become even stronger than before. Overcoming difficulties has deepened our trust and love for each other. Our connection with the community has also strengthened. Interactions with neighbors have become an essential part of our lives. We have more opportunities to express our gratitude, saying, "Thanks to all of you, our family has become stronger." We also realize the importance of America's social support system. Ongoing counseling and participation in support groups continue to aid our recovery. Through this experience, we've learned the importance of family bonds and hope. We believe that with love and mutual support, any difficulty can be overcome. With this belief, we continue to live each day with smiles on our faces.